it's also very, very delicate, the situation of eradication nowadays, because FARC has pulled the idea that they will defend the peasants against the government on the eradication programs. So they're arguing that the government shouldn't eradicate, that they should do it voluntarily, but voluntarily nobody wants to do it because it's a very profitable business. And on the other hand, I'll say that it's very, very nice to think that a land reform will change the constitution of the social problems that affect Colombia. But the fact is that all the agriculture sector in Colombia is only the 14% of the GDP. And we have a poverty that exceeds 52% of the population. So in numbers, you cannot solve the poverty of a country with 14% of the GDP. So the problem is much larger and much difficult to solve.
Inti Landau, what do you do? What's the alternative for these peasants, for farmers?
An alternative as profitable as drug cultivation is difficult to find. But I think, contrary to Paloma, I think the land reform could do a big difference. Could make a big difference in other countries in Latin America. The land reform, precisely, even if peasants who own the land are almost as poor as those who don't, bring some social peace in the countryside that has. In countries like Peru, where I've been living a few years too, you had well, arguably the Shining Path lost a lot of power in the countryside because peasants there didn't support the violence because they wanted to do business more than going to joining the guerrillas. And I think it would be significant, even if it would be significant for the peasants, even if it wouldn't be that significant for the whole economy of Colombia, as Paloma is saying.
Benjamin Kreutzfeld, has plans been laid out? Are people thinking about this? Are there plans being drawn up to change the way land is run in Colombia?
Well, specifically, as the environment minister of Colombia said a few weeks ago here a few days ago only in DC at the Inter-American Dialogue, there have been specific plans and that have been explored and that have actually had a lot of advice also from think tanks and from experience in Central America and from plans drawn up also in Europe that really could work very well, that enable or ensure a transition from drug growing only from drug crops to other crops. The difficulty again is connectivity and therefore investment. So if roads, if markets become more accessible, foreign markets and national markets, then that is also something that goes hand in hand with a land reform and the ability for peasants to find a different trade. But you mentioned earlier that the consumer market in the United States especially and in Europe is huge. So that is going to be an ongoing problem.